What if I told you that from the ashes of destruction, a story of hope and resilience would emerge? A tale that proves life can flourish even in the darkest of times. The fire had torn through the forest with a fury no creature could resist. It began with a crackle of dry leaves under a merciless sun, then grew into a storm of flames, devouring everything in its path. Birds scattered into the smoky sky, deer fled in frantic leaps, and predators abandoned their dens. The once vibrant home of countless lives turned into an inferno of destruction. When the flames finally quieted, silence remained, a silence broken only by the distant fall of smoldering trees. The ground was blackened, the air heavy with ash. What had once been a thriving forest was now a graveyard. Among the ruins lay a small lion cub, its body frail and singed by fire. Its golden fur was covered in soot, ribs showing with each shallow breath. The cub's eyes fluttered weakly, too tired to cry out. It had lost its pride, its mother, and nearly its will to live. But fate had not abandoned it completely. Ethan, a wildlife volunteer, trudged through the wreckage, his face hidden behind a mask to filter the smoke. He had been part of a rescue team, scouring the burned forest for any survivors. Most of the time, they found nothing but silence. Occasionally, they discovered birds with charred wings, turtles buried under scorched soil, or small mammals barely clinging to life. When Ethan spotted a faint shape among the ashes, his heart skipped. At first, he thought it was too late. The cub lay motionless, its form blending with the blackened earth. But then he saw at a twitch of an ear, a shallow rise and fall of its chest. "Oh God," he whispered, dropping to his knees. Carefully he reached out, brushing away debris from the cub's fragile body. The animal flinched weakly, too exhausted to resist. Its amber eyes cracked open, meeting his gaze. In those eyes, Ethan saw fear, pain, and a tiny flicker of hope. "You're alive," he said softly, his voice trembling. "Hang on, little one. I won't leave you here." Lifting the cub was like holding a fragile ember, a life that could flicker out at any moment. Ethan wrapped it in his jacket, shielding it from the acrid wind. The cub whimpered faintly but didn't resist. Its body was hot to the touch, fevered from dehydration and burns. Every step back through the charred forest felt endless. The ground crunched with ash beneath his boots, and smoke stung his eyes. Ethan's team called out when they saw him emerge, their expressions shifting from despair to shock as they noticed the bundle in his arms. "It's a lion cub," Ethan said quickly. "Still alive? I need water. First aid now." The others moved swiftly, setting up a makeshift station. They poured drops of water along the cub's mouth, careful not to overwhelm it. Ethan cleaned its burns with gentle hands, each touch a silent promise. "You will not die here, not like this." Hours passed. The cub's breathing steadied slightly, though it remained weak. Ethan stayed by its side, refusing to rest. As night fell, stars appeared above the ruined forest, and in their light, he whispered to the cub, "I'll call you Ash, because from the ashes, you'll rise again." Ash's recovery was slow and painful. Ethan took him to a nearby wildlife rehabilitation center, where veterinarians worked tirelessly. Bandages covered Ash's burns, and 4 fluids gave his body strength. At first, he barely moved, but Ethan was always there, feeding him milk with a syringe, stroking his head, speaking softly. Days turned into weeks. Little by little, Ash began to stand, his legs trembling, but determined. His fur, once dull and patchy, started to regain its golden sheen. The fire had scarred him, but it had not broken him. Ethan became more than just his rescuer. He was his guardian, his family. Ash would follow his scent, pressing his head against Ethan's side, whenever fear or pain returned. And though Ethan knew lions were meant for the wild, a part of him wished he could keep the cub by his side forever. Not everyone believed Ash could survive. Some of the staff at the center argued that he was too weak, too damaged by the fire. They suggested it might be kinder to let nature take its course, but Ethan refused. He fought through fire. He deserves a chance. He spent hours training Ash, teaching him to walk again, encouraging him to chase, to growl, to reclaim the instincts of a lion. Ash stumbled often, but he never gave up. His spirit mirrored Ethan's unwavering resolve. By the 3rd month, Ash had grown noticeably stronger. He would pounce on small toys, his playful growls filling the air. His eyes shone with life, and the scars on his body became marks of survival rather than weakness. The bond between man and cub became unbreakable. Ash recognized Ethan's footsteps before he entered a room. He would leap toward him, wrapping his small paws around Ethan's arm, rubbing his head against him like a domestic cat. Ethan laughed every time, though deep inside, he knew their time together was temporary. Ash was not meant to live in cages or with humans. He belonged to the savannah, beneath the open sky. Ethan knew the hardest part of love was letting go. After nearly a year, the day came. Ash had grown into a young lion, his muscles lean, his stride confident. Though still smaller than others his age, his spirit was fierce. The forest where he had nearly died was slowly healing, 2 green shoots sprouting among the ashes. Ethan stood at the edge of the reserve, a gate opening into protected land where lions roamed free. Ash paced beside him, sensing change. "This is your home," Ethan whispered, kneeling down to look into his amber eyes. "I'll always be with you, even if you don't see me. Remember, you rose from the ashes. You're stronger than you know." Ash nuzzled him, a low rumble of affection in his chest. For a long moment they stayed like that man and lion, rescuer and rescued, bound by something deeper than words. Then, with a final push, Ethan opened the gate. Ash hesitated, glanced back once, then stepped forward into the wild. His golden form disappeared into the tall grass, swallowed by the land that was rightfully his. Months later, Ethan returned to the reserve, watching from a distance as lions basked in the sun. Among them was Ash, now stronger, his mane beginning to grow. He carried himself with pride, but when the wind shifted, he lifted his head, ears twitching. For a brief second, their eyes met across the plains. Recognition flickered. Ash let out a low roar not of need, but of acknowledgement. Ethan smiled through tears. He knew Ash remembered. The forest had taken so much, but in its ashes it had given back a story of resilience, love, and hope. And somewhere in that vast savannah, a lion roared not as a victim of fire, but as a survivor, forever carrying the memory of the man who saved him.